And then we will say hello to the YouTube participants. We are live on Surface Geeks. This means you are live on YouTube video. Thanks for joining in. We're doing episode number 68. This episode is for the Surface Pro artist in all of us, which there's about, I would say, 0.02 of 0.5% artist in me, which is not very much. So that's why I got Rick on board here to help us out. So we're getting ready.
Yeah, I'm not an artist either. I just play one on the web.
There you go. There you go. All right, I'm going to check the chat room.
Rick, I'll give you one piece of advice they didn't tell me till a few weeks in. The chat room is delayed. I would be commenting on things I saw in the chat room, and I noticed that it was about 2 to 3 minutes delayed.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that I'm looking at the chat room. Is that
perfect.
the thing? That's
okay, good.
Plus, you guys just leave
Don't
me.
even worry about it.
Totally blind here.
If there are questions, we will we'll Skype translate those. How about that?
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if anybody got that. Let me put aside my server stuff, which is everywhere. I have no more coffee either.
We should have brewed a fresh
one. I have to arrange my pencils.
We're going long.
And I'm getting out my my phone. All right, here we go. Let's go, YouTubers. Thanks for thanks for tuning in. Hey, if you want to be on the Surface wall back here, live folks, just retweet my tweet. Get some more folks in here. You'll see yourself on the Surface Geeks Twitter wall back there. This is the Surface Geeks podcast, episode number 68. I'm your host, David McCabe. This is recorded on May the 27th, 2014. Welcome back to the Surface Geeks podcast. Again, we're podcasting here in May, and we've just gotten off the Memorial Day weekend. John and I have managed to keep Darren locked up one more week. Before we let him out, we're still going to be talking good about the Surface Pro 3 before we let him get back on his bandwagon about everything that's possibly wrong with it in the ecosystem. So we're still fans of it and talking about it before we let him out of his cage. But again, I'm joined by Mr. John Wiskowski tonight. How are you, John?
Great, Dave. How are you?
I feel peachy. I am very refreshed after my Memorial Day weekend.
Perfect. Yes, I'm very excited to continue the positive energy that we started last week.
Positive energy before Darren comes around and mucks that all up.
Yeah, and this way we all get to kind of wait in anticipation to hear how he really feels about Surface Pro 3.
We say that because we know he'll listen at least to the first 3 minutes.
At least.
But hey, I made a promise to you last week, everybody out there, that I was going to bring in someone to help me understand this little device that I hold in my hand. For you audio people, it is the Surface Pro 2 Pen. I keep this on my desk. It's a wonder I have not lost this thing. I think I haven't lost it because I don't use it. It stays on the same place on my desk. I pick it up and I click the little power doohickey. You can hear that, and that's all I do with it. I don't even. Sometimes I put it on the screen and I draw a little square on my desktop. That's it. Almost like a select all box. That's all I use this thing for. So I need to know more about the stylus, and who better than our very own Surface Geeks forums contributor for the art. I don't even know what you call this, the art category, and the operator of the SurfaceProArtist.com website, Mr. Rick Rodriguez. Rick, how are you doing tonight?
I'm very well. How are you? I can't
Very
believe
good.
that anybody would have a Surface Pro and not use the pen. It boggles my mind. I mean, that was the only reason that I got the damn thing in the first place.
See, I tell you, I am half of a 1% kind of other person. I'm using it for a complete different reason.
Like, how do you hit desktop targets without the pen?
Practice.
Well,
Practice.
my fingers are too fat to like. It just
Rick, you're talking to
doesn't work.
guys that use 8-inch Windows tablets.
Oh, ouch!
Trying to use
Yeah.
desktop
Oh,
applications.
I can really go on and on. I really don't like that format for desktop applications. I just don't think it makes any sense at all. So there you go.
Neither do we, which doesn't stop us from using them. No, but
That's
I'll
awesome.
say real quick. I think I'm personally I think I'm afraid of this stylus. I've never owned a Samsung Note type device. I've only used non-active stylus on things like the iPad and Android tablet. I think I've tried every fake stylus that I'll call them for things like the iPad. A thick tip, a narrow tip, a small one, a big one. I tell you, my mom loves hers. I actually got her a little teeny one that plugs into the 3.5-inch jack, so she doesn't lose it, and she uses it on her phone, just because she was never really good using her fingers, and she has nails and things like that. But I think I'm a little afraid of the stylus. I'm looking forward to hearing how you use yours and how we should be trying to use ours.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Samsung because I've got the Galaxy Note Pro 12.2 here, which I guess is like the closest thing to the Surface Pro 3. And one of the things that really I don't, we're going to get to this, but see how thin this thing is, and it's got a Wacom in it. So I just don't understand why Microsoft says that they need to have a N-trig for a thin tablet. I don't get it.
Going right into the big topic.
Oh yeah, just
the tease, folks.
Just pull the big gun out. That's good to know.
Well, it's the only thing I care about. I went to this meet Mary Jo Foley threw last week, and Paul Thurrott was there. It was great and Ed Bott, and I got to talk to all of them, and I've been listening to their podcast for years. And all I wanted to talk about was this Wacom thing, and they just didn't understand what the hell I was talking about, why the hell I cared. I made a fool of myself, but what are you going to do?
That's okay. They just wanted to drink beers.
That's true.
This is old hat for them. Okay, we're going to get into that because that's why I've got you here. We are definitely going to talk about that, and you've already brought out the big guns and something I did not know. So that is very good to know. First, let me make sure I got the website correct. So, Rick, where can I find you if folks want to keep going and follow your good stuff?
Yeah, surfaceproartist.com, or they can follow me on Twitter at surfaceproart. And I've got a contact form on the website, so you can follow me there. And I'm also pretty active on the Surface Geeks forum, so you can reach me there as well.
That's right. I soon on in my Surface Geeks life, I found you out there on Surface Pro Art and just invited you to, hey, do you want your own section here on the forums in case some artistry type questions pop up and I do not know what to do, and so I just you've got your own section out there, and your website refers out to it, and it's a great thing to have. So I really appreciate you doing that.
No, and I appreciate you doing it for us. We've gotten a lot of traffic from you.
Good. So let's jump in. I mean, today is all Surface Pro. Surface. We're going to talk. Rick, I think you started with the first edition, and I did too. I've got the Surface Pro 2, and again, I use it completely differently. It's a desktop replacement machine, and artistry is nil. I won't even say the word paint. I don't even think I even launched that application. I don't use anything. It's a desktop for me.
Nice. Well, I think I'd like to start even further back. I was going to say you seem really passionate, and I know that fans of a digitizer on a mobile computer seem to all be very passionate when it comes to the 8-inch tablets, the Samsungs, the other devices that have come before it. It seems to really matter. Certain things seem to really matter about the performance, and you had mentioned something earlier before the show, compatibility and things like that. So take us back a little bit to how you got started and and then kind of bring us into your first experience using the Surface Pro. But how did this all get started that these pens became so important to so many people out there?
Well, I can towards pens. I can tell you that my passion comes from being Cuban. It's natural. So if I'm talking about the weather, I'm excited about it. So that's just that way I'm wired. But I actually got my start on the Amiga. So that was, back. That is probably still to this day the most passionate tech fan base out there. And so that's where I first got my taste of creating art on a computer. And ever since then, for the little guy and for the things that were less expensive solutions but yielded professional results. Fast forward to tablet PCs, and I had always admired Wacom's products, but they're very high end, very expensive, and really I couldn't justify them because I really am not an artist. I'm an art enthusiast, and in my day job in TV, I manage artists, and so I'd be able to to speak their lingo, and I've always doodled, but again never done much work professionally. So I couldn't justify the Wacom, but always kept my eye on it. Always thinking, well, one of these days I'll spring for it. They came down to I think they released recently a couple of years ago, a 13 HD model, and that was nice, but it didn't have touch, which always seemed to me that you'd want to be able to draw and touch at the same time. So then when Windows 8 came out, the PCs started to become more viable. I kept checking every model to see is anybody going to actually come out with one that has a pen. And there was really, you look at the marketing that tech companies do for these devices, and they almost bury the pen. There are a handful of other tablet PCs with active digitizers, and yet you have to really dig in the specs to find whether they have it or not. They barely even have illustrations of it. It's like they're embarrassed by them or something. The impetus for launching Surface Pro Artist, to just have some place where we can kind of have a repository of this information. So partially because as my failing memory, I wanted some place as I found something out, I wanted to write it down, and if I could share it with someone, that was great. And as the year has gone by, the user base has been great, and I've learned so much from them as well. So the Surface Pro comes out, it runs great. I started publishing. Okay, so what's it compatible with? It ends up being compatible pretty much with everything out there. The first generation. 6 months later, the second generation comes out, and it's also compatible. And now I've got a real user base coming to my website, and there's a community that's really excited, and they quibble about the size and everything, and but still it's a real machine. It does everything that much more expensive machines do, and it's fantastic. So then now we find out as a surprise that the Surface Pro 3 is coming out, and it seems to address all of the little issues that we had with the screen size and weight, etc. But lo and behold, they changed the technology of the digitizer, which then throws into question like, well, is it compatible? Is the drawing experience the same, etc., etc. So we can go into more detail there.
Okay. Man, we might as well just get it out of the way. I mean,
okay.
The burning question. Okay, so let's just talk Surface
Yes.
Pro 3.
Yes.
Wacom or Wacom?
Yes. Well, yeah, it's Wacom. It's a Japanese word. It's not Wacom for sure. Some people pronounce it Wacom, or anyway, I believe it's Wacom. Anyway, I've gone to enough trade shows where they call it Wacom.
Okay, so that's how I
So
pronounce it too.
anyway, here
And I'll put the
here it
emphasis on your
is.
screen, which you have a Surface Pro 3 there. Now go slow for us.
This is
Guys
the
on
Surface
video
Pro
will want to
3.
see this.
Okay. So here it is, the Surface Pro 3, and I've got a Surface Pro here. Let me see. So you can kind of see the difference in thickness. I mean, the thing is really significantly lighter. Can you see
That's
this? I
amazing.
can't tell
Yeah.
what you're actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Um,
give the
and
profile.
then in terms of screen size, you can see it's not really, it's not hugely different, taller. I mean, bigger, but it is taller, and that's where a lot of people complained about the Surface Pro for art, was the fact that vertically, when you, I mean, in this landscape mode, it felt very cramped vertically. And if you do like to draw in portrait mode, it's also more natural because it's more like paper. It's actually A4 paper, not US paper, whatever that number is. But yeah, so if you're European, this is exactly like the paper that you're accustomed to. And yeah, so if you're reading a comic or whatever, or drawing a comic, you only end up with a little bit of black bars at top and bottom, but the old model.
It looks, Rick, it looks huge. I mean, I think of my Surface Pro 2 as like very small. I mean, it's very compact.
Yeah,
Even though it's thick and heavy,
yeah,
it feels
yeah,
small to me.
And I'm sitting here
yeah,
thinking the opposite, that it does not look that much bigger than the Surface 2.
yeah. It
In the
really
way he's
isn't. It really isn't that much bigger. And again, because it's so much lighter, uh, it's just really fantastic. And I had shown you before this is the Samsung.
and that's a
So
12.2, I think it
this
is.
is 12.2. Yeah. So again, they're about the same height, um, but the side bezels on the Samsung are much bigger.
Right.
And this is actually what drove well, if you believe Microsoft, the bezels are what drove the decision to go with Wacom, I mean N-trig instead of Wacom. Basically, in order to be the Wacom uses, I think it's called EMT technology, which means that in order to be able to be edge accurate, the digitizer actually has to stretch beyond the bezel or
Right.
into the bezel. So as they wanted to narrow it and have more screen display, that was a driving decision for going with N-trig. And also, N-trig is single layer digitizer. Instead of with Wacom, you have a digitizer that handles your touch, and then the digitizer for the pen is beneath layer of thickness. But again, as I was saying,
Interesting.
the Samsung manages to do it, and it's just as thin. So I don't know. Now
Okay, so
supposedly
be real still. Your
the
camera's cutting out
yeah,
for me. Give me a
sorry,
profile there. So you're
yeah,
telling me there's a Wacom digitizer on that one on the left and an
yes,
N-trig on the right, and Microsoft is telling
yeah,
us that we need to use N-trig in order to thin up our device.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
I don't
again, I mean,
want
I
to.
think in terms of the bezels, yes, but in terms of, we'll see why. Now, this is an
Well,
ARM
let's
processor in
remember the
here. Maybe
hardware
there's
that's in.
other,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Let's remember
yeah.
everything else that's inside the Surface Pro. And of course,
Exactly.
I think it came down to them really wanting this to be as thin and light as it possibly can, and the
Yeah,
Hmm.
technology was there
it's a good
for them to do
observation
it.
to never forget that like, there's a Core i5 in that thing that you're holding right there.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
big difference.
Yes. I don't know if you can see the writing on here, but basically, oops, sorry. This was this is Manga Studio, and so these are just scribbles out there that show the different line widths. This was all done with a single size brush, and then just by varying the amount of pressure, I put in you see all that variation. So the issue of pressure sensitivity, I think able, it really what there are issues with N-trig in terms of you don't have the pressure the curve right now. Um, that has to be corrected. You can't remap the buttons to match what you want to do with the buttons. That's a problem. And the biggest issue is the compatibility, that there's a lot of software out there that just is not compatible and has to catch up and use the Ink API that Microsoft wrote quite a few years ago. So
All right, so
that's the biggest
let me
concern.
ask that question. So, is it possible that it could become more compatible and be almost as compatible as the Wacom,
Yeah.
but it was just going to take
I
time?
it won't be backward compatible. I
Okay.
mean, I guess it could be backward compatible, but really it's about it's a combination of whatever they're selling right now as being a WinTab driver is pretty inadequate because it theoretically gives you compatibility, but it only seems to work in Photoshop. But the solution is for developers, the way that Adobe is doing, to adopt tablet PC and then everybody wins, and then it does, because Wacom tablets will continue to tablet PC drivers, and so everybody can abandon WinTab, which is, I think it was developed in 2003, so it's really old technology. Actually, I'm sorry, 1993.
Wow.
1993. So that's really really old technology.
However, it seems to be an important standard. I know when a lot of these devices have come out and I've seen them reviewed, people have said the WinTab drivers aren't out yet, or they're waiting for a new version of the WinTab drivers. So, is
Right.
that what allows the compatibility for all these third
Yeah, because
party?
it's for Photoshop. Yeah. Basically, Photoshop is the driver. It's like, if you can't run Photoshop, no serious artist can use you. So that's but coincidentally, Adobe has been working to leave WinTab behind, and so a new version of Photoshop CC will be coming out adjacent to the Surface Pro 3, which no longer will require WinTab, and also will be a scalable interface. It'll be much easier to use on a touch device.
Now, what is Photoshop CC? Is that a scaled down version of Photoshop, or is that full Photoshop?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't
Oh,
hear the question.
what is Photoshop CC? Is that just the latest version, or?
Well, I think your question is Photoshop is currently Photoshop CC. It's
Okay.
Creative Cloud,
Oh, that's right.
but
Creative Cloud.
every so often they'll issue a new release. I believe it was Illustrator just a couple of months ago was redone so that it's now pressure sensitive without WinTab, and it has the scaled up interface, or the interface that understands DPI scaling. And so that will be coming shortly for Photoshop as well.
One of the
But what
questions.
does that do?
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're using an older version of Photoshop, again, that's why the WinTab driver was important. If you're on version, I don't know, from CS3 to CS6, you'd be stuck if you didn't have that. There's Corel Painter is another popular one that requires WinTab. There's a lot of people are using or want to use 3D sculpting applications like ZBrush and Mudbox. Those require WinTab at the present time. So there's a lot of software out there that just can't be used. I mean, you can continue to use the Surface Pro 1 and 2, but the Surface Pro 3, which again addresses the bigger screen and is going to be a much more pleasant environment to work in, potentially won't run the software.
Okay, Rick. So we've kind of covered myth one, which is the Surface Pro 3 thickness. That's what I'm calling myth one. Myth two, I'm going to call the difference between levels of pressure. Now, something that us, non-artist folks don't know anything about is they're saying that
Yeah.
the N-trig has 256 levels of pressure, whereas the Wacom in the Surface Pro 2 has, I believe, 1,024. Is that correct? And then,
1,024.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then compare that. I know you've had a chance with it, and Rick just dropped off. No, he's joining back. So
Yeah.
Google is not being very friendly
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you, Rick. So hopefully you'll be. Check your mute level too, because you may have come back in mute.
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, but the question is
Okay.
for you. So you've had
Yes.
time
I'm
with some.
having a really hard time hearing you guys now. So if I can understand, your question is, um, absolutely, there's 256 levels of pressure in the N-trig technology. Wacom, Wacom's hardware on tablet PCs tends to be 1024. It's 1024 both on the Windows side and on the Android side. And then for their own hardware, there's the Wacom Companion, the Cintiq Companion, which is a 13-inch tablet PC. Uh, they have 2096 levels. And in addition, they also have tilt sensitivity and other things that they reserve for.
Wow, I didn't
So,
know that.
uh, yeah. So I mean, in layman's terms, to go from 0 to 100, from the lightest mark that you can make would be 0, and then to the darkest mark that you can make would be 100. And yeah, levels is just how many times can you slice that, right? So can you slice it? You slice it 256 times, you slice it 1,024 or 2,000 times. The reality is that the average person can't. I try as I might be able to get 10 levels of gray in there, going from the lightest stroke I can make to the darkest stroke. And I can't do it. I can't reproduce it every time. But I do know artists, like there's a guy who's very talented. He does brushes for Manga Studio and Photoshop. His name's Ray Frendon, and he's posted videos of his ability to control a pen and do calligraphy by hand. It's just it. I mean, it's
Hmm.
mind-boggling. So I asked him to put together for us so that we can try to reproduce and see, again, just to see just the difference between the two. If you're doing it on a Wacom or you're doing it on an N-trig. The bottom line is I don't think that the average person will notice, the average user won't notice, and I would say probably 75% of artists won't notice either. But again, it's just one of those other caveats that you have to put forth. If you're recommending this device for that use, you've got to now say, well, it's possibly, you know, you may not like it. You may not be, you may not find it to be as forgiving as what you're accustomed to, or as flexible as you're accustomed to. And so again, it just makes the job of selling it. You know, the, I w- My concern for all of this was that uh, the Surface Pros have had issues being adopted by professionals, but the one professional community that did embrace it was the artistic community.
Hmm.
So now, as Microsoft sets out to make a, a professional device, the one community that potentially leave behind is the art community that was their biggest evangelist. So
Yeah,
that's the fear.
that's what I was thinking, that all of you probably would have rushed out to buy Surface Pro 3s because you talked about all the pluses that it offers
Exactly.
you. But now
Exactly.
you probably have to second guess it, but at the very least you're all going to want to try to hit up a store. And I will throw in
Yes.
something from the AMA. It looks like June 6th they'll be in at least the Best Buy stores. We assume the Microsoft stores. So hopefully there's a store
Yeah.
near you and our listeners out there that they can play with this. But obviously, even that's tough because how much playing can you do in the store, and
Yeah.
really
And
feel 100% on that purchase that you'll probably want to make in the next 2 weeks.
right. And the only software that you are guaranteed to see running on a Surface Pro in a store is Fresh Paint, and Fresh Paint's a nice app. It's free. you know, it's really was designed for finger painting, and some people do amazing work. So again, I don't want to diss the fresh paint people, but but it doesn't really show off the pen
No.
to the, you know, to the average person. And so the option is, you know, you play around with OneNote a little bit, you play around with fresh paint, and you go, okay, this isn't too bad. But it still leaves a question, well, will it run Photoshop? Can I do? So I recommend it to the Microsoft guys, you know, if just installing Manga Studio, which is, you know, a $29 program, it works as well as any program is going to work. It has an exceptional brush engine. So getting pressure, doing your tasks, you know, there's really great work being done by that in that software. It's close enough to Photoshop that, you know, you don't have, it's kind of easy to figure out how it works. But it's not a, you know, it's not a Windows 8 app, it's a desktop app. So that's one of the challenges, is that, you know, you'd ideally want to have a Windows Store app installed on one of those live tiles. But yeah, it's a challenge, and then you go into Best Buy and the stylus is missing. Like I purchased a couple other N-trig convertibles at the end of last year, a Sony and an
Sure.
Acer, and you know, they work really well, but I had to order the stylus online or anything, and they're not set up. So it was like, oh well, are you sure this thing comes with a pen? You know, and you know, the
Right.
associates have no idea.
So that's an interesting
Yeah.
question. You mentioned a Windows 8 app versus a desktop app. Do you see that most of the users in your community live inside of the desktop because they have so
Yeah.
many applications that they want to use? There's either old apps, like you
Yeah.
said, some people have to run older versions of Photoshop. Are there apps
Yeah.
coming to the modern UI, the Windows 8 store, that your community uses and likes to use?
There are two, but they're, you know, they're not well known. There's one called Sketchable. That's a very nice app. It But I can. It has been out for a couple months, so you know, I have no idea how well they're doing or not.
Sure.
But it is very well designed, and it has a lot of functionality. You know, it's not the typical, you know, Metro style app that, you know, just has two or three menus. This thing is deep,
Wow.
if you're willing to spend the time with it. And then there's another, an iPad app that just premiered a couple months ago. I think it's done by a one-man band developer out of Korea, but it's a very nice app, and does work. Um, but besides that, there's the free sketchbook from Autodesk, Sketchbook Lite, or which doesn't really do nearly enough. There's Sketchbook Pro, which is a desktop app that is wonderful. So I just don't understand why they haven't taken that extra step to go ahead and make it, you know, make Sketchbook Pro a Windows Store app. A part of it, I think, is just uh, concern, will people spend the $80 or whatever for a Windows Store app, or is that only set aside for desktop applications? But if it had the same functionality, I don't see why people wouldn't. Um, and
Now,
then pretty
you
much
just
everything else that people, yeah,
Oh no, but you were just talking
go
about
ahead.
functionality. I heard of that, you know, the pen can launch OneNote, and it launches
Yeah,
the modern UI version of OneNote. But some users
right.
are asking, hey, I want to use the desktop version of OneNote. From
Yeah.
like an inking perspective, is there a difference between the two apps?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I don't understand. It's embarrassing, but I don't understand OneNote. It's the strangest thing. I don't like the idea of taking note. I don't take notes at all. Like
Hmm,
I'm famous in my organization for like being a guy who's like, you know, I don't write anything down. Whatever I remember it, and I whatever. If I need to remember it, I'll call you back. But but anyway, so I've never been a note-taking guy. And
interesting.
then it just seems like, you know, my notes, because I can barely read my handwriting. So anyway, so I don't get the whole idea of taking notes on the computer. Um, but that being said, I do know that with the new versions of Office just around the corner, all of that functionality is going to be migrating to touch, which I think is wonderful. So I would expect that the differences between the OneNote, the Windows Store OneNote and the desktop OneNote will be disappearing, and so very stuff is going to be missing. And of course, there's always going to be somebody who's passionate about that. So, but yeah, I think majority of people will be served. Yeah.
So I guess what I was getting at with some of these questions was if there was a Windows RT device that had the type of pen that you wanted to have, and is there enough apps in the Windows 8 store that a device like that would make sense?
No, and that was why I'm not a fan of I tested Asus 8-inch tablet, which does have a Wacom digitizer, and it's nice enough to sketch in Photoshop, not in Photoshop, in Sketchbook Pro. You can sketch with it there, but pretty much everything else, the interface is too small, and they're just besides Sketchable and SketchTime, that's pretty much it in terms of modern apps. So until there's more applications that really take that kind of a screen into account, I just don't see the viability of the format.
Were you surprised that the Surface Pro 3 was announced last week? Were you thinking it was going to be a smaller tablet? Yeah.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked, and again, I'm actually, I think it's a smart move what I'm imagining is that the Surface Mini will be essentially the Lumia 1520 with note-taking capability. I don't understand why you already have a phablet. Just add a pen to it, or maybe make it just a hair larger, whatever. But why not release that and call it a Surface Mini, as opposed to creating yet another RT device that really, you can't use it on the go if it doesn't have data. At least that's my position. Is
nice.
Like if you're on the road, and you can access your stuff, it's wonderful. But if you've got to look for Wi-Fi, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, I certainly agree. I would have been really disappointed if an LTE version was not announced. And so I'm curious, you mentioned a Windows Phone. Do you happen to be a Windows Phone user?
Well, we have Windows phones in the house. I'm still on my old iPhone 4, but I'm ready for an upgrade, and so yeah, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence whether, because I think I'll miss a lot of the applications that are kind of you go to the airport, and you know that the airlines are going to have an iPhone version of whatever its travel thing is, but will you have a Windows version? So then I'm inclined to doing an Android phone, but I really hate Android. It's so, I mean, the redundancy of it all. It just there's 4 or 5 ways to do everything. Why? I don't.
Yeah. And I'll say on that app point, I even have that problem using Android that. You would think that, but at this day and age, it'll be out for everything. But no, there are those apps, and you've mentioned things like certain airlines, airports have their own apps now, restaurants, a bank. The Android app's not out first, comes out later, and it comes out and it's not quite updated. Like nowadays, everything is out on iOS first, and Windows Phone is going to have that problem as well, unfortunately. Where even if it catches on, and let's say it has 10 or 20% of the market, look at Android. Android has most of the market and still has problems with apps. So you're right. It's a tough call, and especially because not a lot of Windows phones have been announced this year. It's been kind of a slow start. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's really interesting that you echoed kind of a 1520 with a stylus, to make more sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that. No, I think personally, I was looking forward to a mini RT based with in stylus. I've just been trying to figure out a universal note system for my household, and I wanted to use OneNote in which to do so. And I thought that the said Mini would be able to drive that in my household. So um, I hope it's still around. I hope that all they need is some time to figure out their 2520. Perhaps Nokia has something in the wings as well in the 8-inch form factor.
That's what, yeah, again, it's just idle speculation, but I mean, you acquire Nokia, you have the head of Nokia become your head of devices. I would think that, and they've done some very, very nice units in the last couple of years. Why not have them take a crack at doing a Surface Mini? I don't see why would you pass up that opportunity and have two different devices in the market?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me get a few questions to you about the device itself, the Surface Pro 3,
Sure.
which John and I have not had the luxury of touching yet, even though I have one pre-ordered. I will say that to my public out there, everybody out there. John,
I didn't know you pre-ordered.
I
think I'm going
pre-ordered.
to go in store. I think I'm going to wait. I want to go hands-on. I'm a unique user that I will likely not be purchasing the type cover. I'm not sure I'm going to like it. It's the only thing that I've read about it with all the reviews that have come out in hands-on that makes me lead to think that I'm not going to love it. I don't love the type cover that I have now. I'm sorry, I actually have a touch cover. I should be clear. I have had a type cover. I think I want a real keyboard. And someone had said today, if someone makes a quote unquote real keyboard for the Surface, that's where it's really going to shine. And there is like the Lenovo,
I saw that.
things like that have
and
real
I saw
keyboards.
that argument. Where was that?
I think it was
that? Was that the Wall Street Journal?
Well, yeah.
Or was that no? That was JK on the Run.
I did see that Joanna Stern, after her after her release of her review, later tweeted that. And I do know that's why some of the iPad keyboards are compelling, even though they're too small, but because they're sturdy, they're hard, they're real keyboards. And that is why I do like
don't get it.
Chromebooks.
I do not get why someone would say that is not a real keyboard. This is not a real mouse. This is not a real trackpad.
No, and that's part of it. That's a real big part of it. I'm not complaining so much about the keyboard. I will say that I'm not as accurate on it as I would like to be. Mm-hmm. But that trackpad still is.
Let me show Rick here. That's the new one for the folks that are watching on video. That is the new one. Now, to me, I'm hoping that I will be able to say that is a real trackpad.
This is a real trackpad. This is actually the best trackpad I've played with on a Windows. It feels almost like a MacBook's trackpad.
Oh, good, you got me nervous. I thought you were going to say it was the best you ever played with, and then you admitted, and it's a shame that even you and I never talked before.
I don't understand that. Why is it the trackpads on Windows suck? They suck. But
if I was an OEM, I would pay Apple for their trackpad. Can I have your trackpad, please, Apple?
You would pay through the nose, let me tell you.
Yeah, but you know what?
But this is really, it's so smooth, it's almost glassy, and it actually, again, it's just very reminiscent of it's obviously not, it's plastic, but it's reminiscent of a MacBook, and it's big too. So again, it's very usable. Unlike I have the power cover right in front of me, and it's.
Well, I want to take you back to why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Why would people say that it is not a real keyboard? And I'm clicking things with this keyboard. I need to be careful. It's not a real keyboard.
Yeah.
This is not a real keyboard. Well, stay on video.
Well, it's very shallow.
Stay on video with me,
sure.
And I want to show you what is behind this not real keyboard, and that's what all these yahoos out there are typing with. when they type their
I can't
reviews.
stand that keyboard.
Can I show you one more time? Would you like to see that little sleight of hand?
Yeah.
What's behind the
Yeah.
Surface Pro 2, the Pro 2
Yeah.
keyboard?
Now,
Is
yes.
that
Now I have that keyboard. I'm using it now. I do not like that keyboard either.
okay? But I'm
But
this
there is
keyboard
spacing between the keys.
is
I'm
just
just
as
trying to
good
say
as
that
this thing.
there is some people like spacing
Yeah.
between their keys. I have really fat fingers. I am not a touch typist. Um, and my biggest struggle, as I've told you guys before, is hopping from all these keyboards. I'll work all day. By the first hour or two at work, I'm doing fine. Then I come home, I have a different keyboard, I have a phone with a different keyboard, I have a tablet with a different keyboard. I'm about to be one of those people that just buys one Bluetooth keyboard and carries it around everywhere he goes, because it's that difficult. Dave, it's not just the keyboard; it's the stability that the keyboard provides when it's attached to the device. But like I said, I want to play with it because I'm hoping the new kickstand and the width and the size of the Surface Pro 3 adds the stability that I'm looking for. And maybe the type
Yeah.
cover, because of the second magnet, adds to the stability that I'm looking for. So it's not just the typing experience. It's the trackpad, which is big for me. Again, I have large hands. I see that it's wider. It's still not quite as tall as I would like. But I want to see what the stability of the device is. In my lap, when I hold it, when I put it on the arm of a chair, I use my devices in all these odd places. When I use my Surface Pro with the keyboard, or my Surface with the keyboard on the desk counter, it works fine. It's when I'm in these odd situations that a laptop seems to perform better for me.
How do you use your iPad? Do you have a keyboard for your iPad?
I actually do not. I only have a Surface 2 with LTE. I'm proud to say that on this show. That it's the only tablet that I have.
He passes, folks. He
but-
passes.
Wow.
But I actually enjoy using the on-screen keyboard more than the type cover.
Yeah, well, actually,
Right.
that's one of the things about Windows 8 that drives me nuts is that the on-screen keyboard is so dumb, that basically it's constantly covering up what you want to type on, as opposed to on iOS, it's smart enough to scroll up so that as you're typing, you're not obstructing what you're
Yeah.
typing into. That's such a dumb thing.
And if
So I'm always.
I was going to say,
Yeah, and
if there's any kind of lag in the system, the keyboard acts up really quickly. And since I have an RT device, it does happen every now and then.
Yeah, it does.
And then it just becomes a mess.
Yeah.
Well, I type on this
And then
all the
even
time,
if the
and I don't have any issues with its keyboard, and maybe it's because that I've used the Microsoft Wedge keyboard. I own like 4 of those, so I don't really have an issue. And boy, that thing is cramped.
Yeah.
I do have
say
issues
that's
with
a good solution.
this thing. Yeah, this thing is horrible, but it works in a pinch when you need it. And that I usually have my Surface Arc mouse. What do you call that little travel mouse? I usually have that thing attached. And I hope, John, to be able to do a comparison next week's show.
Ooh.
I hope. That is my hope. But I do want to let you know that I broke down last week. We podcasted and John and I split up, and then I was refreshing the store. I was just refreshing the store, and I was like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm just gonna do it. I pre-ordered. Now I got the i5. I didn't hold out for the i7. I would love to have the i7.
How much RAM did you get? That's all I care about.
I stepped up.
Yeah.
8 gigs of RAM. And what did that come with? A 256.
256.
So why go lateral? I stepped it up and I purchased a red. It is a maroon red board, and I'm completely psyched. And
Not the Best Buy blue? You didn't go with the Best Buy blue?
No, I wanted to be different. I thought it was either red or purple. I wanted to be either red or purple. But
the red looks
sharp.
What
that means, guys?
I haven't seen the red one yet, but in the photos it looks sharp, and because it's new, like you said, I've had the purple, I've had the black.
I've got a blue touch keyboard. I've got tons. tons of stuff. And you know what that means, though, that I've got a slightly used Surface Pro 2 that will be going into the forums in
And
no
the dock.
sale.
And the type cover.
Type color.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to make a package for some lucky Surface Geek listener. Hopefully you need a Surface Pro 2. I'm going to throw together a package and put I'm going to put something in there that you can only get in Redmond, Washington. I'll put something like that in there. Mortal people will not be able to get this item. And I mean, if you're crazy enough and you want some Surface Geeks signatures, I don't know. I guess we could put it on pin on the back of it, a big silver pin of some Surface Geek signatures. But I don't think you're that crazy. But yeah, I would like to get out of my Pro 2. I've decided I probably won't keep it. I'll go ahead and get out of it and use the Pro 3 as my desktop. And I've also decided that I'm going to bring back a gaming machine in my office. I need a gaming machine because I have things like this that I want to give a shot. I've got
Stolen open.
Titanfall. I haven't been able to install it because I don't have enough room on my Pro 2.
Aww.
It takes
You only have
50
a one-
gigs just to install.
Isn't that what Xbox is for?
Yes, that you're
Yeah,
right.
but isn't that what Xbox is for?
Yes, I'm a PC gamer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a PC gamer. But hey, if anybody wants that,
Not using that keyboard, you're not.
no,
Sorry.
no, good Lord, no. Actually, I could probably do it.
Anyway, one thing to tell you about the keyboard that's really important. So I knew that the new keyboards come with a pen loop, right? And for the first couple days, I was scratching the pen loop. I didn't see it in here. I was looking on all the edges,
It was in the box.
and then I thought to just what it is it's a little sticker that is in the box that I had no idea. I was actually going to because I was in New York and I had a lot of stuff to bring back. I had to leave the boxes behind, and I almost threw it away. It's this little sticker that affixes to the side of the back of the keyboard, and then the so it's very snug. Hold on a second, I have to do it two-handed. It's very snug.
I only know that you can remove it because they sell them on the Microsoft store. They sell them in all the colors that the cover comes in. In case you
can
would lose it.
remove that and place it somewhere else?
It's great. Yeah, I haven't tried it. I mean, it's a sticker, so I imagine once I pull it off there, I wouldn't be able to put it back on. I don't know if it'll have enough adhesive. So I would.
You pull the pin out without yanking the sticker off?
Oh yeah. It comes out. But it's even there. I got it with one hand. But it's funny because the pen has a clip, it has a clip, and so now the keyboard has this little groove here. So I find that it's actually easier to just clip it in here, and so you almost. Maybe the concern is that this clip might scratch your screen, but it hasn't happened so far. There's enough,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it because it seems that you wouldn't accidentally lose it or knock it off or
no, not at all.
Get it caught on
it's
something.
really elegant.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
That's great.
Yeah. So here it is. It's like a clipboard with a pen. So I don't know. I don't know that this loop thing is needed if you've got this. Now, one thing I really wish though that the pen had a cap, because this is another big demerit on N-trig is that they don't sell replacement nibs.
Ooh.
And if you're a professional artist or professional note taker, these things they're made of rubber or whatever, and they're going to wear down. And typically on Wacom pens, they cost $5 for a set of 5 or something. And in this case, in the Surface Pro pen, Microsoft never marketed a replacement, so you'd have to buy a new pen, which I think is like $30. And in this case, yeah, I guess it'll be $40. So I took note of it. Now whether they'll actually do anything about it remains to be seen. But the Sony active digitizer that I have, the active pen, they also don't sell replacement nibs. There's only one manufacturer, I think it's Motion, that has N-trig, an N-trig device that sells replacement tips. But the actual tip is more than just the nib. It's there's a mechanism inside here that is what it replaces. But this pen, I don't know. I didn't try too hard to take it apart. Maybe this unscrews. I don't know. The actual battery, the 4A battery, you unscrew the top and it goes into the barrel up here. The 4A battery is supposed to last a year, so we'll see.
Now, question: I heard there's actually that battery and two other smaller type batteries.
Oh, I don't know.
I was
Like
just
little
curious.
watch
I mean, there's other
batteries?
Yeah.
there's
Yep. Little
in
teeny,
the
like
pen.
two of those little teeny batteries underneath I was going to call it a triple A, but it's a quad A battery, right?
Yeah, it's a quad battery, but I didn't see anything but
Huh. Unless
battery.
it's now, I was going to say, unless it's inside the
Well,
surface.
that makes me happy because I have a package of quad A's that I bought for a
Nice.
little flashlight that didn't work.
So you said the replacement tip replacement tip is not possible. In your experience, is that something you would have to do once a year, or?
Actually, no, I'm looking at the drawing. Yeah, there are two. They're actually calling for two. I know you're definitely not going to see this, but there are definitely the drawing has two other little kind of batteries in there, but I have no idea where those are. They
Yeah.
must be jammed.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's an
that's
odd thing. You would say like,
maybe
well,
okay. Yeah, I think it's possible
Why
that
would you call for
the
quad A and
batteries are
then
behind.
like
Yeah, you know what?
like
The
it needed
watch
a little
batteries.
bit more power?
I think no. I think what it
a
is
couple of
because
button
this thing
cells?
is Bluetooth. That it actually wakes how you click here to wake it, so you can go into OneNote. I believe
Oh,
it's Bluetooth, so that's to power that. So yeah, so it's behind the spring.
so the watch
That's what
batteries
I have.
kind of
I'm
always
seeing
keep
it.
it on in a
Okay,
real
check
low
them in
power state.
check them in
Right.
the cap maybe. I don't know if you can get it off.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to because
Yeah,
yeah.
don't disassemble your pen on the show.
Exactly.
No disassemble.
Yeah, but actually,
You,
when this is another interesting thing. You have this little sleeve of paper in here, which I thought about getting rid of, but I'm glad I didn't because I would never have known about those little batteries.
hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't you said you mentioned not taking notes, but for most consumer applications and things like OneNote, probably this will be a fine pen, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's a wonderful pen. It's a wonderful pen for most everything. I mean, certainly better than any pen you come across, where you've got to sign your name or whatever. It's a wonderful pen, and some of the things that Microsoft is working on, like I don't know if you saw Microsoft Research presentation that was out on the web a couple weeks ago about some of the concepts that they've got about around inking, with new gestures that will, for example, if you've drawn some notes on a page and then you swipe down to open up new room, which so that you can insert stuff into your existing notes, and really smart uses of the pen. So yeah, I think for the average person, for the average student, it'll be wonderful.
Chad's saying there's two 319 type batteries. I just assume that's a button cell number. So
Yeah.
okay. Well, I guess that before we wrap up, just kind of quickly about the device. How are you getting along? We've all gone through Surface 2, Surface RT, and Surface Pro power
I'm sorry.
connectors and the bricks, and getting the little thing connected via the magnet and just wanting to throw it? How are you getting along with
Oh
it?
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, as far as the new power adapter, it's wonderful. That's actually the best thing about it, because both of the RTs, or both the RT and the two Pros had that terrible magnet connector. This is, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I don't know, can you see it? Yeah, so this is the new connector. So it's a straight edge. The actual power slot it's a slot. So I mean here it is. So it's there's you can't get this wrong, right?
Mm.
There. Where that little process of connecting it on the RT is a fiddling thing, and you got to turn it around and whatever to get it right. This
It
just
is
goes
fiddling. You
on.
just wiggle it back and forth until it catches.
Yeah, till it clicks. But this one just is automatic. So that's actually a great feature. Um, let's see the other. I love the adjustable kickstand is wonderful. I mean, you're talking about lapability. I used it
Right.
all the way back from New York on my lap on the airplane, and it was great. I mean, this you know how it is.
Mm.
This you could adjust any way you want. The one thing I would say is that at at this widest setting with the keyboard open, my knees weren't. I'm not tall enough. You'd have to be. I'm 5'10". You probably want to be 6 feet or whatever to really. Although it kept falling off. The edge of my knees here.
John at six
But
foot
what are you gonna
five
do?
is going, yeah, you shorty.
Oh yeah.
Sounds sweet. Sounds like it's going to work out
You're not
well for
gonna.
me.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. And here it's an innovation that actually, this adds to the stability. See, it has this added magnet. Okay, it has this
Yep.
added magnet here, which really helps make it stabilize it on your laps. The one thing though is that I like to auto hide the taskbar on the desktop, and
Ah.
it covers that. So I'm constantly having to undo it to be able to reach reach the taskbar.
Oh, you think
But
that it would just go? It would just cover bezel? It actually
no,
covers
no,
screen real estate.
it covers the screen that the pen won't activate,
You
or
can't
your
swipe up.
finger won't allow you to swipe up or activate it. So you have to undo it to be
Interesting.
able to reach it.
So I
What a
actually put
hassle.
the taskbar on the right hand of the screen. I started doing that because of touch.
Yeah.
It was easier for my
Yes,
thumb.
but if you're right-handed, that means you'll always be touching the Windows
I
button
was just
if
going
you
to ask
move
you
to
that
the
next. From
right.
your experience, especially
Yeah,
inking with it, I've heard some complaints about that. I am
yeah,
right-handed. How bad is that?
yeah. It's again, I'm right. I've had other people complain about the physical button at the bottom and the original Surface, that they always ended up hitting it. I don't think I've ever
Hmm.
hit that button accidentally. And similarly here, yes, it's weird that it's here, and you would think if you're right-handed, but the reality is to rest, you'd have to be drawing right in this vicinity. And what I always tend to do is I'll just slide the canvas over so that
Right.
where I'm working is in the center of the screen, and because that is a really awkward position
Yep.
to hold, uh, to reach it. So again, I didn't find it to be a concern, but I know that some artists actually build these, they put their devices into bigger lap boards. So maybe that's the
Hmm.
thing, is that he's got something that extends off the edge so that he can rest his hand here.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it hasn't been an issue in my mind. It's the least of our concerns, I'd say.
Right.
And then of course he also wants to use it. The reason he is upset is because he likes an easel mode, right? So he's drawing with
Right.
his hand resting up here uh, at this angle, and normally so you just turn it upside down, but then you lose the easel mode. You can't, this thing's not, there's no way to rest it. So that's really what the
Right.
issue is that he's wanting to be able to use it at about a 10-degree angle, which I like to work into. You rest your hand on it, and still, it's so far over in the edge that I don't know that how many artists really can work that close to with their screen.
So, how many positions can you really put it in? Are there some that are unstable or not as useful as others, or it really is going to stay wherever you put it?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that remains to be seen, but it's pretty stiff in every angle you put it in. It doesn't really have. That's what I thought too. Is like maybe if you put it at some. I guess this is like the minimum angle. See all these, this right up to about here.
Right, like
it's flexible. But
right.
then from here on out, it's pretty stiff, and so you have to put quite a bit of pressure to open it.
So
maybe
if you
over
wanted
time,
it at the 90,
loosen, I don't know.
if you wanted it at the 90-degree angle, it would stay there, like straight out.
Well, what is 90 degrees?
There you go.
Is it,
right there. Yeah, it would actually stay there.
Yeah. It stays here. It's not up until here that Which
Okay.
I guess that's 135 maybe. Yeah.
But you're saying if you put the thing at 90 and then put it on the table, would it stay in that 90 like EASL mode?
Yes.
The weight of the device will not.
You that, but yeah, it won't. I mean, if you tap on it, I'm tapping on it, and it's gradually going down. But I mean, once you're working on it, you put your weight on it, it stays.
I'll give that a good run when I.
And again, I don't. Yeah. So again, the idea is, you put it at this angle, and you're resting your hand on here. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you put too much weight, it'll definitely slide.
Okay.
I'm doing it. It'll definitely slide. This is really not. But again, this angle is, this is as far down as
that's a good angle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good angle for drawing.
I hope to give it a good run for its money soon. Soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm in line. I have pre-ordered. I am foregoing the line experience. So I hope that there's not
You
anything
could do both
special.
because I don't know when your UPS guy delivers it, but you don't want to be sitting around all day waiting for it.
It's going to be painful.
Yeah.
When
While the
is
rest
the
of us
20th? That's,
head over to Best
Friday.
Buy and pick it up at 10 a.m. and pick up the special blue type cover.
That's a Friday. I don't want the blue.
I'm just messing with
I don't want the blue.
but it's Best Buy blue.
Blue's out.
I'm not a fan of the cyan either.
Blue's out. Blue is Lumia 920 colors.
Well, blue's only out because they stopped making them, but
yeah, it's funny because I really I'm the 1520 is really too big to be a phone to be a day-to-day.
Blasphemy, Rick.
Now wait just a minute.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, where's Derek?
Get
me Derek.
As my phone rings.
I really want the 1020 camera so bad. I mean, those 48 megapixels, whatever. But I hate that yellow color. I mean, it's such a ridiculous color.
And you don't want black, I'm assuming, or white. So. I'm trying to.
Okay. Well, with that big sigh, I think it's time to bid adieu.
I was just trying to think if there's anything about the Pro 3 that. How about the fan? Any updates on the heat?
Oh, that's another thing. So let's call Myth 4. I mean, my Surface Pro 2 fan is running, but that is due to Chrome beating the heck out of it.
Yeah.
It is. It's Google's fault, absolutely. When you put up a few tabs and the thing is just going and going. The Surface Pro fans do kick on when you're using graphics applications. They definitely, you can drive it pretty hard. I haven't heard the fans on the 3 yet. However, it does get warm. After using it on the plane, I installed a couple things, whatever, in the upper right corner here. It got pretty warm to the touch. Not scalding like a Mac, but warm. Hey, I just took my daughter's 3-year-old MacBook Pro to the Apple Store for a battery because, you can't replace it yourself. The genius. You have to be a genius to replace the battery. It drives me nuts.
You have to. I mean, it just came out today, didn't it? In the AMA that it's $200. Surface Pro 3 battery replacement. Is that correct, John?
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't read that.
yeah.
So
Because people
they are
complained.
gonna offer.
Apparently, the batteries used tend to only last about 2 years, and the Pro 2, or I think it was the Pro 1, Microsoft wanted 450 to replace this one user
Wow.
who was in Reddit's battery. So they came out and said, "Hey, we'll have a replacement program for the battery. Bring it into a Microsoft store, or send it in, I guess, and it's $200 flat." To swap out that battery. So, not that I want to try to stand up for Apple, but I think we're seeing more and more of the manufacturers move this way, where the battery's built into the device and can't be removed.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, it's the price you pay for thinness, right? I would say the one thing I'd really like to see from Microsoft is for them to just, stop fooling around and bundle the keyboard. The thing is plenty expensive with, and to ask another $130 is just crazy.
Didn't they do that in the? I bought a kit when I bought my RT. I bought a kit.
Yeah, they actually brought that up on AMA, and he said that same thing, that we did that, but customers wanted to choose their color. I think it was like certain places you bought it, you could only have the black type cover, and then you would have to buy that and then buy a separate color type cover, and I guess it made it confusing. You felt like you were wasting some of your money. So that's why they unbundled it. But the Pro is a unique beast. But again, do you only include the black? Do you then charge less for the colors? And because they said not every store can say, I'll have all the i5s in black, blue, red, and cyan covers. I'll have the i7. So I can kind of understand him, but it would be nice, especially during a launch window. Hey, go into a store, pick your cover, pick your device, and it's one price. And maybe if this thing sells super well, then they can unbundle it, and you got to pay separate. But at least for the first couple months you're shipping a device, or for the holiday, just say pick any cover you want. We'll throw it in, same price. Try to make it real simple, because you are right. Unfortunately, 90% or more of the users are going to have to buy that.
And for the record, I would have picked a different color on that day rather than black.
Yeah. Well, I like basic black, but in terms of if you're going to say that it's a laptop replacement and yet the keyboard's additional or optional, then it's not really a laptop replacement, is it?
There you go. Yeah.
So it just sends a mixed message in my mind.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
hope we've shed some light on a couple of questions. I've got 4 minutes.
Yes, I'd like to do that. I learned a whole ton of things. This was an interesting topic I've always wanted to talk more about, because like you said, Dave, it's not really our area of expertise or familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully next time we can talk about your tips for using the pen just for normal use of the device, for the navigation, like you said, for clicking on things that are smaller. So we'd certainly like to have you back.
Oh, I'd love to be back. And yeah, please, you got to promise me then and at least try it.
I will.
You may like it. Okay.
I will. I won't just hold it during the podcast. This is my
your David Letterman pencil.
Like people pick up a pen and click it. I pick it up and I click the little power magnet dilly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's actually something that
try.
I'm not sure about clicking. How often you'll accidentally turn it on with this clicking button up here. As I put it in the bag, that's certainly a concern. Is will something hit it and it's on and off? I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen, I guess.
I can't wait to try it. Honestly, I cannot wait to try it, put it through its paces, and let you guys know from an average perspective, not a biased West Coast or East Coast magazine reviewer, from a Surface Geek
Right.
You know, is this device going to work? And not from an artist. I mean, I think people want to know not from an artist point of view. They want to know from the Verge point of view. They don't want to know from a Wall Street Journal point of view. They want to
Yeah.
stick it on their desk. They want to, if lay it in the kitchen. Does it work? Can I pick it up and go into the living room and sit it on the couch and watch TV and use your laptop replacement, Surface Pro 3. So.
Yep.
I can't wait to give you that, guys, that review. So please hang out, download the next episode, hang in there with us. We go every Tuesday evening, most of the time. Follow us on twitter.com/surfacegeeks, and then you will get the times and dates of the show. The biggest thing you can do is get into those forums. You can get the show notes, all the links that we talked about, all the links that Rick talked about, all those little graphics programs. I captured most of those links, and if I didn't get them, then you will be able to, other folks will be able to fill in the blanks in those posts and give you links.
And I write about them all at surfaceproartist.com, so come and visit.
That's right. SurfaceProArtist.com. You read the articles and you ask questions in his Surface Pro Artist section in the forums at surfacegeeks.net. There was a lot of links we just spewed at you, but everybody will be able to find Rick in the show notes, so just head out there. And great show, Rick. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
All right. For Rick, Surface Pro Artist, Mr. John Wiskowski, I am your host, David McCabe. This has been Surface Geeks 68. We'll see you in the forums. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I didn't hit end soon enough. He had to bust out his bass.
Surface Geeks.
Did you guys like Pogue's video?
So I hope
I didn't watch that yet. I didn't know he had a video.
Good, I gotta say.
To pull that up, I'm reading.
Well done, I thought.
I'm reading your article about N-trig. Your post, I should say.
We'll put a link to it. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys. Hope we can do it again.
Thank you very much. You may drop off. I'm sorry to keep you
okay.
so long, but
no.
Drop off anytime. We usually sit here staring at links and reading and
all right.
Deciding what to have for dessert.
Yeah.
I gotta go check in on the family. All right. Well,
all
thanks
right.
a lot.
Take care, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Take care.
Good night.
How the hell do I get off this thing?
You're trapped. You have to kill Chrome.
I'm trapped. Do I have to?
I wish I had that on audio.
Just close the little window that Hangouts is in.
Yeah, there's a hang up phone.
Yeah, I thought that I had. Oh, here it is. Okay, it was just a window that it opened. All right.
Take care, Rick.
Bye, Rick. Oh,
that was great.
This WP Central article I'm reading, the G3 is all over it. There's 3. I can see 4 ads for the G3.
Well, I'm assuming that's because of their partnership with, the other sites. They must just batch sell those, huh? Mobile Nations or whatever. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on the G3. What do you think, Dave? Is it your next phone? I'm worried about the OS, but you've been using LG Skin for a while now, so
it's so far from Samsung.
Yeah.
That it's
that's what I worry about. I just want to make sure it's not Samsung all over again. Because the more I watch the HTC videos,
using the Samsung phone was just, I felt dirty.
Right.
I was disgusted by using it. I'm sorry, Samsung users.
Right. Yeah, we are still live, so you better keep apologizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's apparently the screen is quite noticeable. It's like the first time people saw a Retina iPad where it looks like it's painted onto the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I call it fail. Once again, they just release at such the wrong time. LG
Well,
is just on the wrong cycle for me.
especially where if you're not going to release it right when it comes out anyway, then just announce it early. It clearly leaked early. There are some people that have hands-on. Did you mute your camera? Or is that our
Did I
connection?
mute my
We had a
camera?
not mute. You know what I mean? We had a rough connection tonight.
Yeah, I think his
Uh,
connection was really rough.
yeah, well,
You and I stayed HD, I believe.
yeah. We'll have to let him know next time to kill everything running in the background. I forgot to tell him to do that, but yeah, it's a shame, and they'll never quite have the marketing. Like I watched the video, right, and they have all these short little ads like how to take a great picture with your G3, just shoot it, and like that's not how Samsung won. That's not how Apple wins, and I don't want them to copy either of those companies. But oh man, I guess the Quad HD display is going to help. But what we've learned is pixel density means nothing to people. People are using 1366 by 768 laptops and loving them. I mean,
It's an
I like the
enthusiast
MacBook
phone for
Air as much
sure.
as of the next guy, but those screens are low res, and Joanna Stern and the rest will say that, those are the best laptops out there, and in some ways they are, for the price, for the battery life, but I like a nice screen. I'm using my Surface 2, today, and at least it's got a nice screen. It might not be able to do everything I want it to do. I have to use IE, I can't use Chrome, and little stuff like that, but you got to have some standards, and that's what I like about LG is that I feel that they have standards. They're going to have a really good screen. They're going to have a really good camera. They're going to try to have wireless charging. It looks like they have it across the board on these, but of course we won't know until AT&T gets their grubby hands on it. But they're looks like they're trying. And it looks like everything in that skin can be turned off. I love that there was no Q slide apps. You said you were able to turn yours off.
Hmm.
This one doesn't even have it. So when you pull down the navigation bar, it's ringer, it's brightness, and it's a couple quick settings, and that's it. And I
You
was
know
like,
what
oh,
it looks like to me? And this may be really a stretch for some people to imagine. It looks like Nokia made an Android phone. Now, I know Nokia has made an Android phone, but I'm talking a Lumia
right.
1020, 1520 like device.
Yeah, I
And
don't quite. Maybe the white one, but I really don't see that.
no, I'm not saying don't look at the hardware. I'm saying
Software.
the inside pieces, the internal pieces, like the
Oh, I see what you're
camera, the
The quality
QHD, all the
components. Yeah.
little different knickknacks that they're adding to it.
The laser autofocus just looks awesome.
Well, does it work though? I
I
mean,
mean, we're gonna find out, right? But
yeah,
it
we
looks
gotta
like
find
it
out.
does. I mean, the early reviewers, these guys are good. I mean, one girl I follow, Erica, she brought every phone that she could possibly bring with her. So she's holding the Galaxy S5, which has software optical image stabilization, but has this really quick focus feature that Samsung was pushing.
Hmm.
So she did it side by side. Other people brought the HTC One, the Note 3, the Nexus 5, and so I think we're going to see a lot of comparisons like that, especially with a new feature, because people, the HTC One is arguably one of the best phones out there, but people are pissed at its camera, so it shows how important, you know, the camera is. I think the camera is more important than HTC thought. But apparently you can take good pictures with the HTC One. It just depends who you are, I guess, right? Like we talked about. Is what a reviewer wants the same thing that you and I want, but
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm to the point where I've kind of been digging around for an icon. I think, yeah, I'll go for it. I'll go with the icon for the summer,
yeah.
and then I'll try to figure it out
Yeah,
later.
I wish the 930 was shipping, and I want to know if any of the international variant 930s will support AT&T's LTE. I'm curious, because the 930 slash icon, very nice
Yeah.
device. But yeah, it's like I'm not into this announcing a product. Now I understand they're an international company, but let's be honest, so is Apple. I mean, the bulk of Apple's sales now is going to start coming from China and places like that. When they make an announcement, they'll announce the carriers and the release date, and they'll make sure the carriers have information available if they don't, right? Um, I just hate, like, they didn't mention anything about the carriers. You have to get this third party from people on the ground, you know?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
so
it's
disappointing.
coming AT&T,
So
T-Mobile, and
disappointing to
Sprint.
not even know the ballpark
Right.
that they're throwing the ball into.
And especially with the different options, we don't want the 16 gigabyte. We're probably going to want the 32 with the 3 gigabytes of RAM. Well, who's getting that? You
Yeah.
know,
Listen up, device makers.
and then with
Announce your product, announce your date, announce your price, announce your carriers. Announce it all at once.
Right. Don't give me this. It's coming out summer. That is bull.
It is. It's total
It's
bullshit.
a phone that's
Turn
already
me off
made.
on it.
You know, it's a phone that's already made. You know that I'll be able, if I really want to, I bet I can get an international variant of that phone in probably the next 2 weeks, tops. So don't give me this, you know, summer. You didn't know this phone was coming out? You know, again, what does Samsung pay these people? And HTC have to pay these people to get the kind of respect that they do. You could the day the HTC one was announced, you could walk into a Verizon store and buy it. That was insane. You know, even
That's
Apple
cool.
doesn't do that. Samsung Galaxy S5, there's a release date, and it's out on all carriers.
Yeah, it's
That's the
old.
one
It
reason
gets
I was
old.
happier when I was an Apple user. You know, like at least you felt like you were being treated right.
Well, you could schedule.
You
knew.
knew if you knew if the
I'd
phone
get
announcement is the
right?
13th,
Yeah.
by the 25th you could go buy your phone, and you know it would be not the Friday after the announcement, but like a Friday 10 days from the announcement,
Yeah.
you could go get your phone. You know, so
Yeah.
you could make sure you had the money. You could figure out when your contract was up. Were you going to be in for this one? Nada.
Nada. I need an icon. I went and looked at them the other day.
Yeah, just buy
Yeah.
one, man.
$549 though, dude. Sheesh.
That's nothing. Well, I might spend $750 on my next phone.
That's nothing. I gotta sell this other phone first.
First of all, you have 8 Surfi. You can probably sell one of them and get your phone.
You know, I'm going to sell my Surface size.
Sell one of the Surface 2 for the phone. Sell the Surface Pro 2 to go towards the Pro 3.
I have to keep one of everything.
Okay, fine.
I
You
would
don't
love
need
to keep the Surface Pro 2, but I can't.
No.
I can't put it in a box and keep it as a.
Now, do you want to get rid of that until you have the dock for the Pro 3?
No, I decided. I toiled long and hard over that, and I
You
thought,
used your breakout box. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a breakout box. I think that I can get by. And right now I'm using a dongle keyboard. So I'll find a Bluetooth keyboard. I'm using the Microsoft
Nice.
I don't know what it is. Sculpt Comfort keyboard. Sculpt Comfort. And right now I'm using this little Microsoft Bluetooth guy.
That's your full-time mouse?
That's my full-time mouse right there.
Wow.
But see, I was using this thing.
Yeah?
But this goes to the little dongle too, the little transceiver.
Okay.
And I don't know, something's wrong with it. I never have any luck with Microsoft mice.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they're great.
Well, I keep buying them.
Well, it's because you have a problem, but
I do have issues. So yeah, I'm gonna sell Surface Pro 2. I'm gonna put it in the.
Why don't you cut off the live feed? I'm gonna go to the boys' room.
All right, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
I had to go comb my hair.
Take care.
I'm growing it out.
Comb your hair. I just cut mine off.
I know.
Thanks, YouTubers. SurfaceGeeks.net/forums. Come out there and chat with us. Good night.
Email